Yes, so just a formal introduction for Pawan. So he's a senior software engineer at Mettler Toledo, where his expertise and innovative approach have made significant contributions to the field of software engineering. And the coming session which we are going to have is based on gRPC, a conceptual contract to empower IoT testing. So this session is designed to means offer valuable insights and practical knowledge, uh, means how to use efficiently gRPC for robust and efficient IoT testing. So yes, over to you, Pawan. I'll stop screen sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Omkar. Let me share my screen also. And please do let me know if it is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So yeah, hello everyone. First of all, thank you, Aditya and the team for having me in this conference to speak about whatever I have learned and then share the extensive knowledge to the whole community. So as Omkar already mentioned about me, I'm currently working as a senior software engineer in Mettler Toledo. There's a company in Bangalore, and I'm settled in the Bangalore. I'm speaking right now from the Bangalore itself. And yeah, I have total around close to 12 years of experience in the IT and the testing. And from throughout, I'm just doing the automation and in terms of the performing the IoT related testing units. So yes, here I am to talk about the topic on the gRPC, which is quite used from from the year from 2015 onwards. Wherever we talking about the hardware and the software, this is the key concepts that we'll be dealing and seeing it right away. So gRPC is something a conceptual contract which will empower to how we can perform the IoT testing and how we can even leverage to even the development phase of it. So we'll see all these things in together. Let's me just put in the presentation mode and I'll just have the one slide. The whole agenda for this is what are the challenges which you are facing right now. That could be the during the testing, during the development, even what is the challenges which the customers who is actually the end user can face it. That we can discuss it. Then we'll talk about what is the gRPC and what is the definition and where we can leverage it. We'll also see some advantages of the gRPC, and then there is one main core concepts of the gRPC is protocol buffer. Without that, gRPC is very difficult to drive it. And then we'll see the architecture of the gRPC, how it goes. And then one of the popular the methods called REST, where we communicate our to communicate with the client, to communicate with the server through the client. And then also we have a gRPC, so we'll have some key difference like where to use REST, where not to use REST, and then so as for the gRPC as well. And then at the end, we'll be having one some workshop, or mainly two workshop for. One is for enable the contract, enable the protocol buffer under the gRPC, and then we'll see how we can use it in a live project. And then at the end, if any questions and answer, I can take it. So yes, the first thing is IoT testing challenges. So yes, now the industry is moving towards hardware, and then you want to operate anything to the mobile on the web. For example, if you have a Bluetooth bulb and if you want to operate anything from your mobile phone, right? There should be some IoT mechanism involved into it. But what if you're operating it through mobile and then bulb is not switching it on? You will be pissed off, right? You will be saying, okay, looks like something is not happening, or I'm sending a request, but I'm not getting a proper response from the hardware part of it, right? So in that case, software may be working fine or may not be working fine, and so called as for the hardware as well. So the biggest challenge what we face during the testing is the data streaming, where the data is being thrown from the hardware, whether it's well collected by software or not. That could be the one of the challenge, right? Then also the challenge will be the flow uncertainty. Let's say the hardware has sent a data, but out of 100 KB, only some, the data has come in the chunk. And due to that, data separation has done, the overall understanding of the data is not being meaningful, right? That's called flow uncertainty. Then the data has to be well collected as well. Let's say 100% of the data is been, given from the hardware, but is there our client is well supported, or able to well collected by the client's apps. Then also we need to make sure the threat, the security threat, let's say any hardware is sending the data, but whether our client or whoever is consuming it, are they making sure the data is not being manipulated or corrupted in between before it reaches to the client. And then there will be some conflict also there, because we generally works in two different team. Hardware team is something called firmware team, where it's isolated, and then software is something, the R&D team, where on top of the hardware they just consume the data and then flow on our web page. It could be either web page, mobile application, or in case of testing it could be the standalone, the application for testing. But how we can make sure, like those two people are on the same page, or you can even call it the harmonized. So that's something called, that I'll talk about, the protocol buffer. That is something bring on everyone on the same page, so that whatever we discuss, whatever we finalize, and whatever we deliver, that has to be on, or that has to be understand, acknowledged, and then delivered all together. And then also the challenge is whether all the IoT platform can enable on the microservices and infrastructure or not. If yes, then how we can do it. If no, then what are the disadvantages, and how we are going to enable those things for the getting all together in the single infrastructure. So this is the major things of the challenge. There can be the many more, but the top 6 or 7 I just highlighted it based on what you go through it to deliver as an IoT product to the customers. So yes, what is gRPC? So gRPC is something remote procedure call. Here G does not stand from the Google, though it's developed by the Google in 2015. So G represents here something is a key, which they denoted as a G for, there's nothing called G for, but they just having, they leverage the existing protocol that is called remote procedure call, and then just derived and have some lot of features under that. So it's an open source. Anyone can use it at any layer or any programming tool. There's no bar, and there's no restriction. You should be using Java, or you should be using only Python or .NET. It can be adapted for any other programming language. The main feature is the HTTP2 protocol. It does not rely on the text format and then getting a request on the text, and then delivering to getting the response back only in the text format. It could be the binary format, because we will be dealing with the thousands and thousands of requests at 1 second. Because as at part of the IoT, we don't rely on a single request. The hardware should constantly send a lot of data at once, right? So that's why HTTP2 protocol has been used. Like I said, the best benefit from the HTTP2 is like in the binary format. So whatever the serialization happens from the hardware and then consumed by our client, that totally happens in the binary format itself. And yes, like other application or other the client server, this is also a framework which deals or on top of the client servers model of the remote procedure call. And then the main key part is something called proto. That is something it has to enforce the rules. If we have to implement the gRPC, you should have a proto, or you can also call the contract. So what is contract in the layman language, or is an English language? It's like I'm giving you something and you made an agreement, and then we need to stick to that, right? If I have to make any changes, I need to inform you again, like, hey, look, I have made some changes. And you need to, adopt that changes. Then only you will be able to deliver it. If you don't agree to that, that contract violation will happen. That we'll see in case of the failure, that I'll show you as part of the demo also. If you violate the contract, what will happen? So overall, the contract is something, that will make sure all the challenges which we saw initially, whether the data will be flowing, whether the data corruption will happen, manipulation will happen, or even the whole set of the data is reaching to the client. All through happens with a protocol or the protocol buffer, or in layman it will called as a contract. Yes, so we have some advantages. There will be some pros and cons.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pawan, but there is a question that you are sharing some code, right? This is only what you want to share, right? or you're referring any presentation? There is a question in the chat, so I'm asking.
I'm sharing some presentation right now. Are you able not to see?
No, we are just able to see that code.
So sorry. Let me just reshare it. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Then I'll do one thing. I'll just take one step back. Yeah, so I do have a dual monitor. The code which I have taken for the reference, just in case if time does not permit, I'll just copy paste and then showcase. But the intention was not for that. But yeah, this is the one, the challenges I talked about. I'll just quickly just, show you the slide so that you can quick read. Like how the data transmit well collected by the client side, then manipulation should not happen in between. And there should be some harmonize between firmware and the development team. Then I talked about the gRPC. So gRPC stands for the remote procedure call. It's open source, but developed by Google, but G does not stand here for Google. It also built on the HTTP2 protocol, where it communicates and the serialized data from one mode to another mode in form of the binary format. Then, like others, it also supports on top of the client server model of the RPC. And then this is the place where I just talked about the contract. The contract is something everyone has to agree, like hardware team and the software team has to agree, and then only they are going to develop the application. So hope you are clear till here. I'm sorry about that. I just did not notice. Yeah, so I'll go to the advantage, and this is something everywhere, all tools or mechanism having some pros and cons. gRPC also have cons, but gRPC is not restricted only to IoT. It can be used for your other the normal programming concepts as well. But it's highly known for the huge amount of the data can be transferred. So I don't know how many of know this. In Germany, you can easily drink from water from the tap water. So you go to any street, just open a tap and then you can drink some water. So how it is happening? So in Germany government, what they have done, they have installed a lot of IoT platform or IoT devices. From there, what they do, they streams the data, whether constantly they streams the data and monitor and regulate it, whether the data or whether the water of the quality is actually correct or not. And just in case if something they have seen in while monitoring, if they see some gaps or some issues or some what do you call it, some data is breached, then probably they will be rectified and fix it. So how it is happening? So this is all together. They are also using the gRPC concepts where they pull the data from the hardware, and then there will be some key person or maybe some team or support team will be there to monitor constantly. And it's not like a one device can monitor for entire the data which in the Germany. There will be thousands of and thousands or maybe millions of IoT devices are there, which is installed in each and every street. And the data has to flow constantly without any single defect or single losing of the data, or else the people who is drinking it may hazard for them, right? So that's how we tell about gRPC is highly performance and the versatility, and also it's a contract first approach. Like I said, any development of the IoT should be starting with a contract, and that is something called a proto. Without that, if you are not making an agreement, we cannot proceed it further. Streaming support. So like I said, it's a binary format, so the streaming will be happening very smoothly. Serialization is also efficient. So if you want to do the thousands of requests at once and getting back the response, that will be happening without any latency and the delay. Then it also supports the microservice architecture. So you can have the one service in one, maybe one solution, or maybe one even deployed to the one server, and then you can consume it and then use it and give it to the client to the other service as well. Then it also, like I said, the development, it does not restrict only to Java or Python or maybe Ruby and Perl. It also supports multiple programming language. I will be showing this with the .NET here, but it also supports all the languages. It's mainly for real-time services. So immediately, whatever the hardware is sending, right, is start consuming and start transforming a data based on what client understand and what clients read it. and then gets the data and then showcase your what the client is on demand, right? So this is highly suitable for IoT platform. Okay, so protocol buffer is something. It also have extension like other TXT file, like Java for .java file. Similarly, it have extension called .proto, and it's a file basically, and you can call in simple protobuf or protocol buffer. So this is the first step for the gRPC service to define a protofile. Whenever you're creating any service, first even writing your own or the first business logic, you have to define what are the contract or what are the the protofile has to be set so that the same set can be given to the software team, or it can be do for the vice versa also. Let's say if anyone, I mean R&D team or software team is actually implementing first, and then firmware team is little behind of it, you just share the protofile. They will mock the data, and based on the mocking, they will what they will do. They will just try to replicate the test data and then consume those test data and just see. Once they also deliver and already the software is delivered, they will try to integrate it with the actual real data from the instrument and then see. That's called that will be mainly part of the integration testing, right? But this will enable you to do the early testing or even the independent testing, because we have a two different set of core team, right? So what are the protofile contains? So the first thing is methods, request, and the response model. So every business logic will have some method, right? And every business logic method will have some request. It could be any request like inputs kind of thing. And then based on the input, there will be some logic will be written, and then that logic has to be translate to be done. And then based on that logic, whatever the outcome will be done, that is called as a response model. So that protofile will be having all these three components. Then how we'll connect it? That is connected only as a service between server and the client. So if you're using a service, then you need to connect as a server. If you're using as a client, you need to connect as a client. Then we'll see what are the main components and then syntax. How the protofile will actually looks like it. So there will be a syntax. So right now the proto version is 3. Prior to a couple of years, 3 years, I guess it was 2. Then package is something, what package you can club it multiple proto in a single package. Then import. Import means, let's say you have a 2 protofile. One protofile is having only for request, another protofile is having for the response, and you have a method is a third protofile. So if you want to all connect it, what you can do it, you can just import it. Like in C# we are using statement. In Java we are using import statement. Similarly, this can be in some other service, some other places, and if you want to just import it, you can just use the import as a keyword and then give the path. All whatever the request and the response and the method is written, that will be able to access it. Then there's called option, and then C# namespace is something only for C# project. This is the hard coded stuff. For Java is slightly different, and so called for other programming language. So this differs. Remaining everything will be same, but only thing is option is differ. Like based on the programming language, whatever you are selecting, this will get changed. Then service, the service is like set up the method. So what we'll be having, you'll be having a service. You can treat it as this service as a class, and under the class you can have n number of methods, right? That is nothing but the RPC methods, where all the business methods which accepts your whatever the request and the response which you have defined earlier, that will be part of it. And then finally message. The message is nothing but your actual request and the response model, and it looked like something like this. So you'll be having a syntax. Then, like I said, Proto 3 is the version. If you're using 2, you'll not be able to use a lot of features which are there in the 3. Then there'll be a package. Package can be GTR. I mean, I just named it as a GTR 2024. You can give, if you're using multiple, if you want to use multiple Proto in a single package, you can just extend this package and have a multiple Proto package. Then this is service. So I'm just giving organizing ETA GTR as a service. This could be the class name. And then you want to get the list of the speakers. And to get the list of the speaker, what you need? You need a request. And then what it has to return as a response, right? So if you see the request is nothing but the string, and then there will be a topic ID. Is something, whenever you have to request, you need to give some ID, right? So that with that ID you can get it. And if the response will something look like this, where the with based on this ID, what could be the title, what could be the name, and other functionality also, which I'll show you. So this is one of the simple or maybe simplest one. I'll show the demo on top of this only, and there will be something with the IoT related platform, where water purifier is a service. Under this, you want to get the status of the purifier on your mobile phone or client, right? So how you can do it? You just need to connect. Your client need to connect to this method. Your client need to send a request. Maybe your customer ID could be the request, model ID could be the request, which is easily configurable on your mobile app, right? And get the response. So what could be the response? What is the current status? Whether it's showing green, I mean the green is correct. I mean working fine. Red means it needs some repairing, right? Some service is required. Those kind of information also you get it. Also you can get it when your AMC expiry, will be AMC will get expired. So those things can be pretty much, configure it and give it to either hardware and the software. And based on this only, they can mark it and get the data. One more thing is, if you see string customer ID equal to 1, string model ID equal to 2, and then here the get data response 1 and 2, right? So let's say in future, after your product is live and you want to make some more changes to that, so you cannot insert in between like 1.1, 1.2. It has to be integer. So either you shift model ID2 down, or you create a new string, like let's say string x equal to 3. But if you shift down, this is called a violations, because the other party is totally relying on the 2. So in that case, what you can do it, if you don't want to, if you want to introduce a new one and you also want to shift it, there is something called concept is a free up. You can actually, free this number and don't use 2 at all. You use 3 as a model ID and then 4 as a whatever the new property you have to assign it. So in that case, you will be having the backward compatibility as well. So this is something concept they have, brought it in the proto third. I mean the version of version 3. So I will quickly show you the link. I'll not take much time, but let me know if you see my screen of this. Can you see my browser? Can you confirm anyone?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Protocol
So yeah,
buffer documentation.
yes, thank you. So this is something very well documented by the Google team itself. It says how your the protocol buffer. See, it's again a kind of programming language, just a structured language, you can say, not the programming language. But it's a structural language, right? So how it should be looking like. So there will be. I'll just quickly go down. So basically, you need to specify in a 3 format. One can be the singular, where you don't have any collections. Then you can have the collections. Let's say you want to get list of all the speakers from the AT-GTR, all the participants from the AT-GTR. What it can be, the name, and then the email ID, phone number. These could be the repetitive for each and every candidate, right? So those could be the list and the collection, and then map is something which is a dictionary, which is a key value pair. So on these 3 concepts, the entire protofile, written. So I'll not go depth in this, but I'll just show you how it is written. Like I showed already, the package will be there, then message will be there. Under the message, if you want to extend, or it can be extended. Optional means this field is optional. You don't need to provide from the request. Then there is something called comments. If you want to provide comments, you can just give the double slash. I guess this is standard. Then let's say I said deleting a field or reserve the fields, right? Let's say you want to move some field to the other one, and then you want to introduce it to have the backward compatibility. In this case, the reserved is a keyword where you need to provide which number you want to reserve it for the future. Or if you have deleted anything, you need to mention, okay, this number 3 or number 2 or 15 has been deleted. I'm just making it a reserve, so that once the related changes have been done from the development in the future, they can reuse it. If you don't give it, and if the other team, whoever is consuming it, if they're not updated it according to the latest proto, they will be getting they will be getting the error. So sync is not happened, and because of that, the error will be thrown from the client side or the server side. It can be anything. Right? So basically how it will look it. So whenever you build the protocol, I'll show you in the demo also, there will be some class file will be generated. Since it is a C#, you can see some .cs file will be generated along the detail of it, which is a system, what do you call, machine compiler related information that you cannot easily understand, but yes, it's ultimately it's a C# language. So yeah, then there are a couple of data types it supported. All you can go through it. It can support bool, string, bytes, date, time, format. Then, like I said, collection and everything, right? Then it also supports enum. If you have to support enum, like for example, the primary, secondary, tertiary, whatever it is, anything enum, right? For example, whether it's client is mobile or web application, Windows application, all enum you can just put it here. Then yeah, I guess that is done. Yes. So next is using prototype. I'm not going inside it because this is quite old. So I'll just go and switch it here. Yes. So architecture of the gRPC, how actually it communicates, what happens when you send a request, what happens, when business logic is triggered, and what happens when the response is generated. So generally what you see, get that, yeah. So generally what happens, you will be having one server, you will be having one client, and there will be some contract happens in between as a proto file, right? So what happens? Client will send a request to the HTTP2 protocol. gRPC server will get the response. Easy, right? This is how the rest also works, but only thing they may not having this concept. Let's see further. So what happens? Let's say you have created a server, the gRPC service, where all your business logic is written. Now this service is written in the .NET. Now you have a client. Maybe mobile application can be written in Java. The .NET client can be written for maybe some other maybe standalone. Python and all can be written for the web, or it could be the TypeScript, JavaScript, and Angular, whatever it could be. So client can be anything, right? So gRPC works like that. You can have a multiple server, you can have a multiple client. Each server can communicate to the multiple client. Each client can communicate to the multiple server or one-to-one. Anything is possible. But at the end, the client has to send a request through the proto. gRPC server send a response through the proto. Without proto or the protocol buffer, whatever we have seen so far, you will not be able to achieve anything. Okay. So now we will see how actually it's encode or decode, in form of the binary. So let's say you have the client app. The client app is REST is, please ignore the REST here. It's a method call. So client app can be your anything mobile web application, right? So using that, you are actually sending a request. The request in this case is a method, right? Because gRPC understands the methods. So what it happens, so client application is actually, sending some RPC call. And then using this, they are going to try to get some, the external dependency format that is called a client stub and trying to mock a data. So whatever the data which you have, send as part of the request, in my case, it's a topic ID, what is the name, what is the title, and what is the type of the session. Similarly, I have another request, topic ID 2, the name, gRPC is the title, and then type is workshop. So in this case, it will just format and then have it for, pass it to the next set of transport layer. So this will be sending a transport layer, and then transport layer will actually invoke the HTTP2 client, the protocol. And through this, the actually service will be triggered, right? So this is the one where the now transport has been received and validated, it's authenticated and everything is correct. And then it will go to the gRPC runtime to make sure whatever you have encoded as part of the external service, right, or dependency, right, it will just try to decode it in form of where the service can understand or the compiler can understand, right? So you will be having encoding and decoding mechanism, and then they will make us local call. Why I'm calling a local call? Because at the end, this is a method call. So internally, the service will call their method of the gRPC, whatever the logic you have written it, and then they will return something, right? The data, the return type will be there for that method, and it will return some the response for you. So this response is only to understandable right now in form of the proto. Now, return is happening, you need to decode it to get what the client can understand. So this is the one something you are going to encode it for now. Then again, you will send to the transport layer, and then the transport layer will give this to gRPC runtime. And here only the decode, because you cannot understand the proto. You can understand only in form of the JSON text and what are the format, maybe DB, that format you can understand, right? So this is the place where the decode will happen, and finally at the end you will see the response. Okay, yeah, I've sent the request to create maybe some entry, and this is the response of maybe 200 or whatever it could be, right? So this method you can incorporate under the REST as well. You cannot use it directly as a REST, but let's say you have a method gRPC method A, and this method you want that method A does actually some create an entry or create a record, then that method A can be incorporated or have it under the REST, so that the REST method, they will not be able to see what gRPC is doing. It can be the encapsulated. So this is the whole idea. And yeah, if you see the whole thing is right JSON. So this is the place where the decoding will happen, and decoding is happening through the stub, where each and everything like one, right? The topic ID is one, so it will take the what is the binary format. It will convert to the binary format. Similarly for the string, what is the string I've used, Pawan, and then gRPC and then interactive. If it is a bool, again the binary format related to the bool. Similarly for integer, and similarly for other format, it will happen. Yes, so I guess REST everyone is using. gRPC also some people are using related to the IoT, but we should be knowing what is the key difference in between, right? So the gRPC is something remote procedure call, where the client server communication will be happen. This is also a client server communication, but this is a structural data. Like I said, uh, you need to send a request that you need to send a response that other party know. In between what is happening, they don't know, right? So it's a structure. Similarly, the design approach, this is something, the perform a task or the function, like I said, it's a method call. It cannot be directly REST call or the HTTP method call. So you need to define your own method, and all the method has to be incorporated with the, on top of your protocol, and then business logic will be written under that. Then this is not the case. It can you can create or share or modify the resources, so that it calls the entity oriented design. Communication model, like I said in my previous diagram, it can communicate to one to many server, one server to many client to many server, one client to one server, and also the reverse way. But this is like one client, and there will be only one server. The data access, how it will be happen, this is mainly for with the design approach, where you will be having a method or the function or the service method, you can call it, and you need to create your own client with respect to the gRPC, and then only you'll be able to access those methods. But like in REST, you need to write endpoints. The endpoints can be accessible through maybe what you call some third-party tools like Postman, Swagger, and other tools, and then only you'll be able to access it. Data return, the data return is only the protocol buffer, like I showed in the earlier. There has to be decode again, so that the customer and whoever is consuming the data, they can see in the JSON or XML format, whatever the format they need. This is typically only in you're sending a request in the JSON and getting back the request response in the JSON format. Coupling is tightly coupled because the client and the server has to make an agreement or the contract first with a protocol buffer, so that everyone will be on the same page, and then whatever the outcome or the product delivery which they are doing, right, that will be deliverable as per design. But this is loosely coupled. This can be the integration kind of thing, where you you develop one server service somewhere, client somewhere, and then directly call the service through the authentication. Built-in feature, like I said here, method can be called or the function can be called only when you create a client of the gRPC, but this can be accessed through the third-party tool like protocol and this. Bi-directional streaming, yes, is possible. We saw already. Once the request has come back, you need to get a response. So that's something in the protocol buffer we saw. but this is not applicable. Right? So it's not a bidirectional, only one. When you are hitting a server, you'll just get the response back. So this is a main, the comparison between REST versus graphs, gRPC, and there is something called GraphQL, which I have not covered it here, but yeah, that is also can be comparable. Yes. So moving towards the workshop, I'll show you two things. One is I'll just create a new project in the Visual Studio, and then just show you how you are going to create a protocol. And then I'll also show you, the next is how you're going to interact or integrate with your project. And then there will be one test project. Whatever we have defined the proto, we need to see how the communication between the client and the server. And then also we'll see what happens if we violate any of the proto contracts. So I will just talk about this later. I'll just switch to Visual Studio. So what I am here right now, I'll just create a new project. And if you have installed Visual Studio, you can just go along with me. Then you need to create a core gRPC, ASP.NET core gRPC service. I'll just select it. Or you can search it from here as well from the template. Since I've selected already, I'm in search in earlier phase. I'm able to see. Then you go to next. You can give whatever the project name you want and whatever the solution name you want. It's up to you. I'm just giving as a default. Then .NET Core, that is a cross platform, right? So I've just selected whatever is coming as a default, and then I'll just create it. So yeah, it will take a couple of seconds. Yes. So this is the way it actually, create the service. Now, if you see by default, you have a proto, and under that proto, you have a grid, but I'm not going to use this. I'll just have it here, but I'll just create a new proto file. I will be showing and explaining in detail how everything looks like when I'll show the project which I've configured it in my other Visual Studio. But here, what I'm going to do it, I'm just going to add a new item and just search the proto and then just give the demo.proto. Now, as soon as I add the demo.proto, since the latest is proto 3, then C#, like I said, this is something, the keyword for the new, what you call, for C# that can be used. And this is something you can just give whatever the name you want to give. Let's say I'm just giving the gRPC service one. Now, what I'll do, just give the package. And then package can be demo. Okay. Now, package is something, let's say I have a multiple, let's say I just want to use this one. What I'll do, I'll also give this as a demo so that I can use as an import. If you don't give this, don't use it, this will not work. Now what I needed, the next structure is message, right? So what could be the message? So you need to form a message in terms of your request and the response model, right? So let's say I am just giving a demo request where the first thing is, what do you want? Let's say you want integer. So you just give int 32 and just give maybe, I'll just call it index. And this is the one thing. You need to mention this as a one, right? That's a sequence. Then you can give some maybe bool is valid. I'm just giving random, not specific to anything, just to show you. Now this is done. There is some concept called one-off also, which I did not mention earlier, but I'll just mention here as well. So let's say I'm just giving one-off, and it can be like which grade you are studying, maybe right, first standard, second standard, something like this. So this you can use it as a one-off grade, and then you can give a string, like let's say first, and this could be third, because this is a part of the single message. What could be the next, and so on. This will be keep on going. Yeah. So once you generate this, right, your message is ready, right? Now your request is ready. You need to get the response also. What you will do it? You just write the message, and then you have the what you call demo response. Okay. Now, what do you want to respond? I don't want to get any response right now. Just leave. You can leave it as a blank also. And then the biggest part is the service. Like I mentioned, right? Service can be treated as a class, right? So I'll just write it as a demo service. And then under this, your method. The method is invoked by the RPC is a keyword. And then you can give any method. So let's say I am using method here, demo method, right? And then what it takes, so your input, the any method will take some input parameter, right? In my case, this is my request. What it returns? My response. So I'll just give the demo response and then yes. So this is how it will look like. Okay. So you will be having called method, demo method that will take some request and get the response. Now your Proto is ready. So you just save it and then you just need to build once. It's not, yeah. Yeah, the dot will not come here. So now I need to rebuild again because I made some changes. Once the build is succeeded, you need to do the connection service, like I mentioned, right? The connected service has to be there. So what you need to do, go to the connected service. Click on, if you see the greet is already there because this is something the existing one. You can delete it if you don't need it, but you just go to select the gRPC, go to next, select the browser from wherever you created. So my project name is gRPC1. I'll go to Proto, where I created the demo Proto, and just select the finish. So now it is successfully done. I'll just close it. And then I'll just show you also in the folder structure, what it creates it. So this is the place where I am. And if you see under the object, debug.NET 8 and the Proto, these are the two files which is actually created by the system. So if I open it, you may hardly read it, I guess, because this is a system generated, but you can see your all the methods which you created. So if I quickly search the demo method, right? This is the method which I created as a demo method. And this is my request which I created, and there will be some response for me. So this is how the system will generate one CS file, and this CS file can be reused for further configuration with your client. Okay. So yes, this is done. Let's say you want to make some changes. So what I will do, I will just add maybe another string, or instead of adding here, I'll add it here. String some XYZ. And if I give 3, this should throw some error. Let me just check it. Yeah, if you see this 3 is already has been used by the field. So I need to use it something else, right? So I can use 5 or anything else. Now this should work. Yeah. So since this is done, you will be able to access it, and then you need to use a share, which I'll be showing you how the same Proto can be used to some other application. Maybe if you are taking as this as a service where all the firmware team will work and write all their business logic, then they has to share this Proto to the client, right? That I'll show you how it is done. One more thing is, if I go to the project file here, if you see, this is the one we added, right, as a server. So whenever you add it, it will ask you, or maybe I'll show you again where it was. So if I go to the connected service and just try to add it again, I can delete it and then add it. Yeah, here only it is. So if you see here, right, if your project is only server, you can add a server. If your project is only client, you can have a client. If your project is serving both, you can use the client and the server. So these are the three. Fourth one we are not using very much, so I'm not sure on this, but yeah, all these three is something we can easily do. So yes, I'll just quickly cancel everything and then I'll close this also. I don't want to save anything. And then I will show you the last part where how the configuration of the contract. So whatever the demo.proto which I created, right? That has to be configured for the client as well. And then there should be some handshake should be there. Like I showed you the server mode, client mode. That has to be, I'll configure it here. So let me just. I will also share the Git repo just in case if anyone would like to see parallelly, they can just access it from here. Okay. So what it is here, I will show you. So I have a gRPC server which talks about, it's a simple, kind of CRUD operation where I'm just storing a couple of things. So I'll show you the data, how it looks. I have a topic ID, title, author, conference time, duration, and then co-author, right? So these things is like you can configure whether you want a string or you want some numeric or integer or whatever the boolean, right? That I'll show you also. But this is the place where I'm just going to perform some CRUD operation. This I randomly and manually inserted here, but remaining I'll show you how it could be done. When assuming this is your server, then if any, the web application people are there, how they are going to consume, and for the test, how we are going to consume. So for that, I'll show you the conference proto. Looks similar. We have a syntax. We have a C# namespace. We have a package called conference. Then I have a conference data. Like the data could be, the topic ID, title, author, and then type and the duration. Now co-author in ATA GTR is an optional. It's not mandatory, right? So I have also just tried to mark the same thing where it's optional. Now this is the conference data for each candidate. Now, if you have to get the request of the, for that candidate, you just need to give the topic ID. Now, based on the topic ID, what you'll get you'll get this data. Let's say you have used this, you have given this as a request for creation, right? So what the response you wanted, whether you want the success or failure, and then you want the topic ID, like which topic ID is created and what is the author name and what is the title. The remaining thing may not be relevant or not be needed at this moment. So you can just, whatever things is needed for you to return as the response, you can just have it here. Similarly, for the update, success is the response, and then topic ID is this. But for update, the request could be this one as well, but the response may vary. Now for delete, request will be either, I cannot use this one because this will be a conflict. But if you see internally, it is just using the same concept, just using the topic ID. But I have to make the similar request. Now for delete, whether you want a success or the failure, and then what could be the topic ID which you have deleted. Similarly, you have a service. Services can be treated as a class, and there is something called RPC, is a protocol, remote processing call, and this is something your business method, right? And under that, this could be your create speaker detail, right? And in that, if you want to do the conference data is something, whatever you need to insert it, right? And what the response you want, you just want the response, whether it's success, topic ID, author, and title. Similarly for the get, update, and delete. So what I will do it, I will just show you how it is actually, added here. So this is the one, this is my simple client, which I have already written it, and then I'll just show you how it is done. So all you need to do is you need to configure the port, right? You can give some port that can be done under the program itself. So I've just hard coded the port so that I don't need to worry about the freeness of this port or not. And also I mentioned the HTTP2 protocol, that server whoever is, originator of the protocol. So if you see this, this server is my originator, right? So here only I need to configure, I want to do a communication on the HTTP2 protocol. But if you see here, like I said earlier, the proto conference.proto is actually type. Now, let me go to the client. The client looks something similar, but only the difference is, if you see here or read it here, the gRPC service is the type client. The option is same. You just need to go to add, then go to service reference, go to gRPC, select, then you can browse it. You can browse it. And then from where you need to browse it? Like I said, it's a contract, right? So you cannot browse it from the client because you don't have this. If you see the icon difference, that is called shared, right? This proto icon is slightly different than this proto icon, right? Which means this is shared. So if you see, I'm not going to the server. Let me go it again and show you. I don't have those files here or the folder structure here. But where do I have? I do have only in the server. I'll go to proto, and as soon as I select it and then click on next, and then finish, I will be getting something like this, where it's already, the service is connected and it's ready to use it. And then when you do it, you will be able to see the same structure, whatever you showed there. If I open from here, you will be getting this. If I open from here, you'll be getting this as well. Okay. So this is the one. I'll make one slight change. I mean, I'll just add, I can revert it also. So let's say XYZ, and this could be 5. Now, if I just rebuild this solution. Yeah. So as soon as I rebuild it, right, which means like my object folder, which I showed you under the bin and the similar to object, there I can see the changes. But if I go to here under the client, I just need to, I mean, you can see the changes, but you cannot use it. So to use it, what you need to do it, you just need to go to and click on the rebuild. If you don't rebuild it, you will not be able to access this XYZ, even though you can see it, but compiler will not understand saying, look, this is the gRPC client project. I don't have the updated bin directory or the binaries which you created from the gRPC server. Same goes for all other projects. So this project can be part of the same solution, or this project can be independently as well. But only you think you need to do it, you just need to add as a service, and then service is from, I mean, that proto need to add it from wherever the source of the proto you have. So I'll just revert it and then just rebuild this, and then rebuild this as well. Okay. So now the proto concept is clear, how it is done. Now I'll just quickly go and then show you, the programming, how in programming you can just show it and create it. So I mentioned in earlier call, I mean, starting of the presentation is we need to create some, client, but it's not like a REST client, what we do it from the REST shop or anything like whatever the tool which you use to communicate for the REST, right? It's slightly different. What you need to use a client, you need to have a channel, right? So channel is something you need to have it, and for channel you need to make sure you don't need to host it anywhere. As long as you have consumed this proto, this will get started working on it. You don't need to worry of hosting this thing somewhere and then use it. You can just take a code from anywhere and then have it. And if you're hosting it, of course, if you're hosting the server somewhere, you can give the path of it, and then from there you can actually access it. Okay. Then you created a channel, then you have a client. Client is something whatever you have created it, right? These class will something come from whatever the object directory which I showed you here, right? Somewhere. This is the old one which I created. I'll show you from here. Yeah. So if I go to object again, debug, same structure. So if I show you, I will be having something called conference gRPC. So here only you can see all, which class you need to use, which package you need to using, I mean, package you need to call it. And based on that, what it requires, these are some constructor, which is auto-generated, and just using this channel, you can create a client. So once the client is created, you will be able to access all the methods which you generated under this. So what is the method called? Create speaker, get speaker, update speaker, delete speaker. Okay, so let me just go back and just show you the create one. What do you need to do to create it? You need to form a request. What request you need to do? If I go inside this conference data, I hope you may not able to, at the first point you will be able to understand, because this is not like the way we write the C# language or the Java language programming, right? This is slightly different, which is auto-generated code, right? So if you see, but you can relate it, what are the topic ID, title, what are the parameters you're given, that is something you can correlate it from here. But this is not something you can easily, like how we write it in our day-to-day life looks like, right? So what you can do it, if you don't want to use this conference data directly, you can have the mapper extensions and then convert this extension, like the latest .NET provides it, and it's a good cleanup code as well. You can convert with your model to this one so that it's happened like I showed you initially in the architecture diagram, right? You take the JSON, convert to proto, and then get the response again, convert back to the JSON from the proto. So similarly, you can also do it here. So what I'm doing it, I'm just constructing a request of the type of proto directly. I'm not converting anything from the JSON. I'm not reading any data from the JSON, so I don't need a conversion. So I'm just creating some faker, the random number from the library called faker. And then topic ID can be random, title could be random, author could be random, like anything. Co-author, I don't want to give anything right away. And then conference type could be the lab workshop, and duration could be, I'm giving 60 to 100. Now, if you see here, this is the method, right, which you created. Now, since it's asynchronous, I need to use await. And then there is a method supported by gRPC, asynchronous and synchronous both. If I just do it, create, you can see both the things. One is, synchronous, other is asynchronous. I am interested in asynchronous because I don't want to block the deadlock of it. So if I go again inside it, you hardly can see. It's all encapsulated. You cannot even go inside it, whatever I created. But if I show you the services which the logic I've written, the logic is very much easy. The entity framework is used like same thing. Speaker detail. This is the request which I showed you right now. I'm not into this right now because my goal is not to know how I'm inserting it the data, but the idea of it is to just insert a data to my database, right, which I showed you initially. Similarly, I have some method, business method is written for get, update, and then delete. So this is a very vague example for this, but similarly, instrument can also write it. Let's say if you have instrument connected, now you have to instrument provision to your application to see the data. Like if you take a watch, the what do you call the stand watch. First, you need to open or install the app in your phone, and then you need to connect with the Bluetooth and all. How it is happening? That is happening only behind this logics, right? So once that is done, you get the request, get the response, and just show it.
Pawan, you're on mute, Pawan.
I'm not sure. I have not done myself.
Okay, now you can continue. We lost you somewhere in middle.
Okay. Did I mention about this?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was saying it, there was a service, is a business logic where you will be having some operations. It could be, like CRUD operation, or if it is an instrument where you have a watch and you need to connect with your mobile phone, first you need to enable a Bluetooth, and then Bluetooth has to acknowledge or, understand there is some device from the mobile app, and then it will try to integrate, right? So those logic can be written here from the business side of it. But how to consume it, whether to test that logic, how to see it, that is something here. So that's what I showed you. If I go inside this, you will not be able to see the implementation. It's already hidden. That is behind the automatically created the program by the bin directory or the object directory or the binary, whatever you call it. There it is. But you will get the response, right? So similarly for get, is same. I'll just create a request, get the response, and then have it, do whatever you want to do with response. Similarly for update, if you remember it, for update and create, let me go to the proto. For update and then create, the request is same. For me, the payload is same. Only the difference is the output or the response type, right? So this is what I did. Go back again. Yeah. So I got the response, and then I can do whatever I want to do, but it's same. Again for delete, just delete has just a single request, topic ID, and then I can delete it. So I'll just quickly run it. So to run, what you need to do it, you can go to this project, go to server. Okay. So just go and then open any command prompt. You can open command prompt, anything is fine, like PowerShell, anything is fine. So .NET and then run. It will just build your solution, and then it is, the communication has been established, and now it will ready to listen whatever the client is sending a request. So what I will do is I will quickly go and then I have done as a start of the project, only this will run. And then I will just try to run it. So it's running here. So what is the first one? I'm typing hello world. Then topic ID is created. I cannot show you. I can again show you in the database because I deleted already. So let me do one thing. I don't want to do this part right now, just to show. And if you see, I will just run this one. I have only one report, right? So let me just run it again. So now delete is not done. Only the updated is done for 8283. So initially the author is this, title was this, and then when you get it, you get everything title, and then I updated some title, I guess, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah, I updated co-author and then updated the title name as well. So if I go and then just execute it, I will get another report 8283 with all the updated information. Okay. 8283. Yeah. So this is something your service is ready, your client has to, consume it. Similarly, for the test project, I will just show you. So for test project also, okay, one more thing. As soon as you invoke, right, your gRPC methods, all you can see whether that request has been made or not. Which request, which method is been called, and which service is been called, and within a service, which method has been requested. So what I requested, create a speaker, get a speaker, update, then again, I did some create and then get and update, right? So yeah, something like that. So whatever you call it, that you will be getting it here. So I'll quickly jump to the test. How much time I have?
So we are having more 8 minutes.
8 minutes, right? Okay, I will try to wrap it. So for test project, I have used MS Test. You can use. There's no restrictions of You can use if you're writing. Let's say you want to write your test code in the Java. You can still do it because all you need is the conference.proto, right? But only thing you need to make sure you need to inject or introduce another proto file, and then that proto file should be having, like I showed you, right? This is can understand for the C#, but you need to have some related to the Java also. The Java underscore namespace is there that you need to use it. So I'll go to the conference here also. If you see, I'll just go to the project file first. So in project file, this called as a client because this is not my service, and this is the place where I'm going to use it. So this is shared, right? And also if you see here, I have agreed I'm not used it because I'm not introduced as a service. I don't want this as a default one. Whichever you want, you can just use it here. So get that, which will open the same file, but I'm more interested in this. So I have a test class, conference test. I have just given some random topic ID, which I get generated automatically just to have, in case of anything failure, I can just still verify it. In this case, that could not be the real test case. What I'm doing it, I'm just initializing for every test where I'm creating a client, right? What is a conference client? So conference client is nothing but we need to create a client. That client will communicate with the gRPC server. And then, like I showed you how gRPC client project looks like, right? Similarly, you can also create it. You can also encapsulate within, you can have some interface, and then, on top of that, you can write it so that you can hide all the implementation as well for this. So all you need to know is you can create your own method, but your client should be whatever you have created a client, right? This is something same goes to the gRPC methods. This is not something easily readable or easily understandable. Similarly for create, get, update and delete. So I'll go back to my test. So if I go to this you can go because this is something you have created a wrapper, right? To understand the client and then get the gRPC method to call it and then get the response. So it will ultimate go here and get the response and then show you what it is actually giving you the response based on your request. So my first test case is to create a conference detail, right? What is the conference detail which I want to create? So topic ID, title, author, all input you have given. What could be your expected response? So you are saying it should be success. So you're just here, success should be okay. Topic ID is again whatever you have formed the request, right? From there only your all the response should be formed. Because if you noticed it, your create conference response will have only 4 properties. Just go back one. Yeah, success, topic ID, author, and title. So in future, if you want to leverage it, you can do it. There's no hard and fast rule you cannot do. You can still do it. Only thing you need to rebuild your solution, or if it is behind the NuGet package or some other external source, you just need to take the latest library or binaries. Okay. Now you got the response. You just client is already created. Using the client, you got the response, and then you can validate the test, whatever you want to verify whether the response should not be null or empty, or you want to verify one to one, like all the object, including that the value of that object can be accurate. And then I'm just storing it at the runtime so that I can use it for the get. So there's a method written behind it. So if just in case if this fail, still I'll be able to fetch it, through this one. So the get is there. Now what I'll do, the get request is something, the topic ID, and then same client will be created. I'm already created. You are using the object of that, and then you'll call the method. This method is something you have created, and then beneath that you are calling the clients of gRPC methods. And then again you can verify it, whatever you want to verify. In this case, you can just verify because that is something only known to you, right? Other thing you can verify it whether you are because this get response is the conference data, and your conference data is nothing but the uh, you can see it. Your conference data is nothing but combination of all these information, right? So you can verify whatever you want based on your test case need, based on your whatever the way you're writing the test case, that you can do it. I have not implemented this one, but maybe I can just show you here. Let me know. The same case is here. I'm just getting the topic ID, either the default one, which I've hard coded it, or whatever I created it. And then, I'm forming a request. So to form a request of the update, the conference data is the model. And then the response is I'm just giving as a updated. And once it is there, once you call that method, you'll get the response, you can validate it. Similarly for non-existing, this is something, if anything is non-existing and this is failure, right? So your success, maybe the wording is wrong, but yeah, the result could be the better word, but yeah, it's like what could be your response? And you don't want to update, everything. You can update only one property as well. So that success, I mean, the result is failure, no existing topic ID found to update. And then you will get the topic ID, which I've given here random 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get the response and just compare it. Similarly, to delete it, get the topic ID, get the mock the response, what you are expected, and then get it. So I will quickly show you one thing, the violation that can help it.
Sorry to interrupt, Pawan, but can we wind up the session in next
Sure.
2 hours? Next
Yes.
3 minutes?
Yeah, I can do that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So what I'm doing it, yeah, this one. So duration, I said is an integer, right? So if I do this, just in case, so it will not even allow you to, allow you to convert your string to integer, because your contract is saying this duration is only integer type, right? If you want to make any changes, you have to make changes to here and then rebuild the solution. Then only you will be able to do it. So this is the case where you can give this contract to hardware team or the firmware team. They, based on this, they will mock the data and they will do all the performing either development or testing, and they'll consume, create a set of data. And only when both the team has ready with their solutions, they will just integrate and do the integration. So yeah, I have a couple of reference link. The gRPC is standard one, which is created by Google itself. Then protobuf definition. This is I walk through you, and then this is a place where I have another branch. Maybe I can show you that. So this is the place where called master, and then under the master, you can find the same code. If I go to the conference test, you can actually find the same code of the update, then non-existing, and then even the delete one. Yeah, so yes, I'm open for questions, and if you want to discuss even offline, this is my LinkedIn profile. You can just ping.
There is one question in the chat, Pawan. Like he's asking
Yes.
whether
Yeah,
Uh,
gRPC is somehow
gRPC is
similar
somewhat
to SOAP.
similar to SOAP. Yes.
Yeah, it is somewhat similar, but not 100% concepts are, there. Like SOAP is meant for something, IoT as well, non-IoT as well. But gRPC will have more provenient, solution with comes with a contract. So you can there design a contract, but individual project or the team has to design their own contract, and then they need to cross share it. But ultimate the logic could be the same. We are not using SOAP anywhere. I have not worked anywhere on the SOAP. But yes, the concept could be the same, but the matter is the product that makes difference for the GFX.
Anyone else has any other questions? Okay.
Hello. I do have a question.
Yes.
Pawan, so just wanted to know, like, as I have worked on this before,
Mhm.
so that profile, what I think is like that profile is the most important thing in this whole scenario.
Yes.
So, is this necessary to have that profile in our local, or it could be anywhere in the server? We just need that auto-generated files.
It could be anywhere. So, like I said, right, in one of the conversation in slide, I mentioned it. If you don't want to proto in the service itself, you can actually put in the NuGet package. You don't want to keep this proto here. You can put this all aside the NuGet. I mean, you can have the library and put the library hosted somewhere. And using that service, I mean, whatever the hosted service you have, you can even give to this service. So I've just kept it here because I don't want to, create a complex design where the proto can, it can be the outside, it can be inside the server, it can be even in the client. So this is something the server initiated the proto. Now, in some example, the client can initiate. In some example, both can initiate. So if all together both the team is, initiating, what they will prefer to have a different solution or different project itself, where the proto file go and set it there. So if they have to make any changes, they need to upgrade their version. So in that case, versioning is something very much important to to take the latest. If you make any changes, you cannot simply access unless and until you bump or increment the latest version to it. So it could be inside, it could be outside as well.
Okay. Thanks, Pawan.
So yes. Thank you, Pawan. Uh, okay. Can you see my screen?
No, it's not up.
Now can you see my screen?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. Thank you, Pawan, for this session.